All right, let's unpack this. You're planning that perfect summer vacation. You want that iconic Emerald Coast experience.
Hmm.
You crave the sugar white sand, the kind that squeaks when you walk on it, and that water, that impossibly luminous turquoise water that genuinely looks like someone poured 100 gallons of blue Gatorade into the Gulf.
Right. That visual, it's the gold standard for the Florida Panhandle. It's what drives millions of people down there every year.
It is a non-negotiable standard for your trip. But then, you sit down to book it and you check the prices in the premier zones.
And that's where the record's scratching.
Exactly. You look at Destin, you look at Seaside, Watercolor, or Rosemary Beach, that whole stretch of 30A, and the prices are just astronomical. You're talking $800 a night for a standard hotel.
Or 6,000 for a week in a condo. It forces the question, right? Is there a way to get that water and that sand without having to, take out a second mortgage?
And that, right there, is the million-dollar problem we are solving today. You start sliding your cursor a little west of Destin on the map, and you land on Fort Walton Beach, FWB.
And you see the prices drop by 30, sometimes 40, sometimes 50% compared to its glamorous neighbor. And you think, okay, what's the catch? It seems too good to be true.
Welcome to the deep dive on Fort Walton Beach. Our mission statement is simple: Gulf Coast relaxation on a budget you can actually live with. We are here to figure out if that huge discount is worth the aesthetic trade-off you're absolutely going to make on the ground.
We really need to get to the core of what FWB is, because it's equal parts this breathtaking natural beauty, truly world-class beaches, and this gritty concrete reality.
It's a working town first.
It is. It's a blue-collar, functional working town. It is not, and I have to repeat this, not a curated Instagram village where everything's pastel and perfectly manicured.
Okay, so before we jump into the geography, we have to give you the hook. We've got three, I think, contrarian surprises that completely defy what you'd expect from this region. And these facts, they fundamentally change how you plan your whole trip.
Okay, surprise number one is what I call the food truth. The best, highest quality, freshest local seafood in FWB is absolutely not in the fancy waterfront restaurants.
Not at all.
You have to look for it in places that look a little suspicious. I'm talking gas stations, tiny little shacks with drive-through windows, places that look like they maybe should have been condemned 10 years ago, but that's where the local fishermen actually sell their haul.
Surprise number two is something I initially doubted, but I'm a full convert now.
Yeah.
The actual physical beach in FWB on Okaloosa Island is, and I'm going to say it, better than Destin's main beaches.
Better? Whoa, that's a bold claim. Destin is world famous for its sand.
I'm standing by it.
Oh.
The sand quality is identical, but the beach in FWB is significantly wider. Sometimes hundreds of feet wider than the little strips of sand you find near Destin Harbor. And crucially, it's way less crowded.
Okay, so you're not elbow to elbow with your neighbor.
You don't have someone's umbrella 3 feet from yours. It just dramatically improves the quality of the time you spend on the sand.
And surprise number three, this one is a non-negotiable deal breaker for some of you. You're going to hear the sound of freedom.
Constantly.
Fort Walton Beach is completely tied to Eglin Air Force Base. That means you will regularly hear, feel the roar of F-22s and F-35s taking off. So if you need absolute peace and quiet for your toddler's nap time, you've been warned. You might need to look elsewhere.
And the major downside, the sort of penance you pay for that low price, is what we're calling the strip mall blues. To get to that perfect, pristine beach, you first have to drive through this chaotic artery of traffic, aging concrete, pawn shops, car dealerships, and just general commercial sprawl.
It's the visual tax on your wallet. You save hundreds, maybe thousands on your lodging, but you spend 15 minutes staring at concrete barriers and fast food signs before you hit that beautiful water.
So what does this all mean? My bold claim remains. Fort Walton Beach is the last bastion of the blue-collar functional beach vacation left on the Florida Panhandle. It is, in every sense, the undestined. It's raw, it's real, and it's accessible.
And we've got a lot of ground to cover. We're going to give you highly detailed budget ranges, critical logistical advice like how to avoid the traffic nightmares, a full safety check, and our final verdict matrix, tailored for every kind of traveler.
Let's get to work and figure out if that amazing discount is truly worth the surrounding concrete. So we've established the economic pressure is very real. Standard hotels in Destin are routinely hitting $600 a night.
And we're not talking luxury suites here.
No, we're talking about a standard room with 2 queen beds. At that price point, the vacation just becomes a mistake.
Yeah.
So FWB has become this cost-conscious overflow valve for people who are priced out but refuse to compromise on that water quality.
Exactly. People still want the visual splendor of the Emerald Coast, but they can't afford the aesthetic polish that places like 30A provide. And let's define those aesthetic benchmarks just really quickly.
Good idea.
When we say Alice Beach, we mean stark white, architecturally controlled, $10 million vacation homes. When we say Rosemary Beach, we mean, new urbanism, cobblestone streets, high-end boutiques. Fort Walton Beach is none of that.
No, it's its own distinct thing. But to understand it, you need a quick geography lesson, because this is where 90% of first-time visitors make their biggest, most frustrating planning mistake.
Fort Walton Beach is located, physically between Pensacola to the west and Destin to the east. It is the literal geographical and cultural bridge between the military-focused west and the pure tourism-focused east.
And the city is split into two, utterly crucial zones. First, you've got the mainland.
Right. This is the bulk of the city. It's where locals live, where the schools are, the hospitals, the military housing, and where you find all that sprawling concrete along Highway 98.
And then you have Okaloosa Island.
Okaloosa Island is that thin barrier island, it's basically Santa Rosa Boulevard, that runs parallel to the mainland. It separates the mainland from the actual Gulf of Mexico, and this is where pretty much all the beachfront hotels, condos, and resorts are located.
And the critical distinction, and you have to listen to this, 90% of the landmass labeled Fort Walton Beach is inland. If you book a hotel on the mainland, you are not walking to the beach.
Not even close.
You are getting in your car, driving across the Brooks Bridge, sitting in traffic, and then fighting for parking. That initial saving you thought you got is instantly erased by daily frustration.
We have to set expectations right when it comes to the aesthetic. Forget the social media hype trap. FWB gets mistagged as Destin all the time by people who want the clout of the Destin name. So visitors arrive expecting that pristine, manicured look.
But the reality is that FWD is vintage. And vintage here doesn't mean charmingly rustic.
No, it means functional but dated. We're talking 1970s and 80s stucco architecture. It's probably well maintained, but it's certainly never been updated. Think faded paint, slow elevators, and souvenir shops that look like they haven't changed their inventory since, 1985.
And the reason FWB keeps this distinct, slightly aged look and keeps its lower prices is tied completely to its core identity. This is a military town first. Its economy relies almost entirely on Eglin Air Force Base.
That is such a crucial point. It links the aesthetics directly to the economics. Eglin ensures a steady but very transient population. People are moving in and out every few years.
So the infrastructure is built to be functional and resident-focused, not purely tourist-focused.
Precisely. You see pawn shops, military surplus stores, tons of fast food joints, and these huge grocery stores built for high volume. These are amenities for people who are living and working and raising families there, not for boutique tourism.
Right. And that lack of a curated tourist bubble is what eliminates that high bubble tax you pay in a place like Destin Harbor.
It's true. You'll be standing in line at a Publix in your swim trunks, and the person in front of you is in full military fatigues. It's this completely unique juxtaposition of vacation life and working life that you just do not find in those manicured communities down the road.
Okay, let's move to the physical reality of getting there. We're calling this segment 2, the arrival experience and the shock of the Brooks Bridge. Because your first 24 hours in FWB are going to be a complete roller coaster of impressions.
If you're flying in, the process is incredibly smooth, which is a huge point in FW's favor. You land at VPS, which is the Destin Fort Walton Beach Airport. It's literally located on the Air Force Base.
It is efficiency defined.
Yeah.
VPS is small, it's not confusing, and it's generally super low stress. You deplane, walk a very short distance, grab your bag, and you can be in your rental car and out the door in like 15 minutes tops. It sets a really relaxed tone.
But then you start the drive. You might be coming from the north, through Niceville, and it's quiet, it's lined with pine trees, very typical deep South Florida. But as you hit Fort Walton, bam, the visual landscape just shifts dramatically.
It's brutal. This is the Highway 98 experience. It's the main artery, and we have to be objective here. Your first impression is going to be ugly.
Yeah.
It's a sensory overload of pure commercial sprawl, concrete, aging strip malls, endless traffic lights, and billboards for everything.
You'll spend about 15 minutes seriously questioning your entire decision. You're thinking, did I just trade a beautiful experience for a cheap, depressing, concrete jungle? This is the peak of the strip mall blues. The landscape is optimized for function, not for beauty.
But then You reach the transition moment, you hit the Brooks Bridge, and absolutely everything changes.
The Brooks Bridge is the physical and the psychological shift. You drive up and over the intracoastal waterway, which separates the mainland from Okaloosa Island, and you look to your left, you look to your right, and the harbor water just instantly transforms.
That's the forgiveness moment. It's the shock of visual beauty. The color just snaps into that brilliant, almost neon emerald green and turquoise. The clarity of the water is instantly apparent. You're crossing a literal physical boundary, and you're shedding the mainland grime as you rise over the crest of that bridge.
And then you drop down onto Okaloosa Island, Santa Rosa Boulevard, and the whole vibe immediately slows down. The speed limit drops, you see the natural dunes protected by fences, and you start spotting the condos and hotels. And yeah, they're older, but they're clearly beachfront.
Let's talk about that first check-in experience, though. If you booked correctly on the island, the reality of that 1980s vintage will hit you. Maybe the lobby feels a little damp, or the carpet smells like a permanent blend of chlorine and coconut sunscreen, and the elevator definitely groans.
You feel that initial, little twinge of disappointment, but then you get to your room, you slide open that balcony door, and the roar of the Gulf just hits you. The view of the sand, that blindingly white sand contrasting with the turquoise water it's utterly spectacular.
And that quality of the sand and water immediately offsets any lack of charm from the hallway carpet. It really is the great forgiver. You realize, okay, I'm paying $250 a night for this view. That is the bargain.
And speaking of bargains, the financial relief starts almost right away. I remember we hit a local spot near the island for lunch right after that initial drive.
Yeah, we needed the numbers comparison immediately.
Yeah.
A simple, fresh, delicious basket of fried shrimp. We found it in Fort Walton Beach for what, $18?
$18. That same plate, identical quality, maybe served on a slightly cleaner patio over by Destin Harbor. You're paying $28 to $30. Easy.
And that $10 difference seems small, but over a week, applied across a family of 4 for daily lunches and dinners, that is hundreds and hundreds of dollars staying in your pocket. That's what makes this place functional.
And the crowd reflects that reality. You see lots of multi-generational families, grandparents, parents, kids, all dragging these massive wagons and coolers across the parking lots. It just feels unpretentious.
Nobody here is trying to impress anyone with their luxury watch or their designer swimsuit. They are here for the water, the sand, and the value, period.
All right, let's get into segment 3, the economic deep dive costs and value. We really need to focus on where the money goes and how to maximize the value. Because success here isn't defined by, expensive daily adventure sports.
No, it's defined by affordable access to the finest natural resource there. The Gulf itself. Just parking yourself on the sand and eating good food.
And the accommodation saving is the absolute foundation of the FWB strategy. If you look at peak season, let's say the first 3 weeks of July, the contrast is just stark.
In Destin, specifically along the Harbor Walk or those prime areas, a standard 2-bedroom condo with a decent view averages, $400 to $600 a night?
At least, and often with multi-night minimums.
In contrast, on Okaloosa Island, and we're talking true beachfront properties on Santa Rosa Boulevard, you were looking at $250 to $350 a night for a functionally identical condo.
Often with a full kitchen, laundry, and better access to that wider beach we talked about. That translates to a guaranteed savings of $1,000 to $2,000 over a week-long stay. It's massive.
And if you listen to our timing advice, those savings just multiply. If you aim for October, the golden month, you can easily find oceanfront stays balcony overlooking the waves for $150 a night. That is exceptional value that the premium markets just cannot touch.
Let's talk food strategy, because this is where the mid-range traveler can really mess up. You can absolutely fall into the tourist traps that charge destined prices for, mediocre food.
You don't have to, though. You just need a highly varied strategy.
Right. The low-cost, high-value strategy here involves embracing the local spots and, honestly, the grocery store.
Absolutely. Breakfast should be cooked in your condo, no question. Lunch should be high-efficiency thing, grabbing fantastic, cheap street tacos from a roadside stand on the mainland, or hitting that $5 foot-long public sub deal on a Monday.
This is where that contrarian food surprise really comes into play. You have to actively hunt for those functional, unpolished seafood shacks. Stubby's is the classic example. It's a drive-through joint. There are no tablecloths.
Right.
But you can feed a family of 4 fresh, local amberjack shrimp and sides for under $50. If you try to do a sit-down waterfront meal of similar quality in Destin, you're hitting $100 to $120 easily.
For activities, the biggest budget hack is just inherent to the place.
Yeah.
The beach is free, walking the pier is cheap.
But you need gear right. That Florida sun is no joke.
Yeah.
The rental services on the beach charge $40 to $50 a day for 1 umbrella and 2 chairs.
Which is insane. Over 7 days, that's $350.
Our budget hack, if you're driving, skip the rental completely, swing into the Walmart on the mainland and buy a cheap $20 umbrella and a couple of $10 folding chairs. Use them all week. If you can't fit them in your luggage to go home, just leave them for the next family. That's a huge immediate saving.
The one big ticket item, if you decide to splurge, is the pontoon rental. It gets you out to Crab Island, that famous sandbar in the Destin Bay. It's an unforgettable experience.
It is, but you've got a budget for it. Expect $300 to $500 for a half day. That's your major activity spend for the week.
So let's put this all together into our budget bands. We'll give you a realistic daily spend per person, excluding airfare, based on how you want to travel.
Okay, let's start with the low budget. This is your classic college road trip, or the really budget-minded solo traveler who is aggressive about saving.
You're probably splitting an aging motel room on the mainland, maybe 80 to 100 a night, split 2 ways. You're eating at Waffle House, microwave meals, cheap gas station coffee. You allow yourself maybe one $15 shack meal.
Your total daily spend here is a remarkably low $80 to $100 per person. You get access to that world-class water, but yeah, you are roughing it a bit.
Next, the mid-range traveler. This is the sensible family or the couple who prioritize comfort, kitchen access, a pool, but are still very value conscious.
They're booking that decent condo on Okaloosa Island, maybe one of the older but well-kept VRBOs, or a mid-level resort like the island. So averaging $300 a night split across 4 people.
They're cooking breakfast, handling their own lunch, and enjoying a mix of cheap taco stands and maybe 2 or 3 proper but affordable local seafood dinners during the week.
This puts your total daily spend in the range of $150 to $175 per person. This really is the sweet spot. You get the quality beach access, the kitchen, and the comfort a family needs without the constant stress of just hemorrhaging money.
Finally, the high end. These are the travelers who wanted the Destin experience but were just smart enough to book an FWB. They refused to sacrifice comfort and amenities.
They're targeting the newer, more luxury-focused buildings on Okaloosa Island, like Waterscape, which is known for its amenities, lazy rivers, zero-entry pools, that sort of thing. Lodging is $500 plus a night.
They're dining at the Gulf, they're driving into Destin for higher-end meals, and they're generally avoiding the whole strip mall experience entirely. Their spend is going to be $300 plus per person per day.
But even then, they are still saving significantly compared to the absolute most expensive Destin properties.
So the value takeaway here is just, it cannot be overstated. You're gaining access to the exact same spectacular water quality and sugar sand as the most exclusive communities, like Alice Beach, which are charging 5 times the price.
The only tax you pay for that value is accepting the concrete reality of the mainland and the, 1980s stucco architecture on the island. That's the deal.
That value proposition is compelling, but FWB is not without its traps. Because it is a working town built on a tight barrier island, there are several logistical landmines that, if you don't see them coming, can completely ruin your vacation and, frankly, negate all those savings.
Yeah, we need to treat this section as essential, like insider knowledge. Geography and timing are everything here.
Okay, trap number 1. The mainland mistake. This is the booking error that causes the most stress and regret.
So the traveler sees a photo of water, they book a Fort Walton Beach water view hotel. They get there and realize they're on the mainland, looking out over the Santa Rosa Sound, which is the murky Back Bay waterway, not the Gulf of Mexico.
And the consequence is just catastrophic for a beach vacation. You have to drive across the Brooks Bridge every single day to get to the Gulf beaches. What you thought was a quick walk turns into a daily mandatory commute, usually sitting in that awful traffic.
So the fix is non-negotiable. To have a true walk-to-the-beach vacation, you must book on Okaloosa Island. Your address has to be on Santa Rosa Boulevard. If the address is on Highway 98, you're in the mainland sprawl, and you are starting your vacation stressed out.
Right. Trap number 2, the Highway 98 chokehold. This is the vacation killer, and we need to spend a minute explaining just how bad it is.
Highway 98 is the single only primary east-west road that connects FWB to Destin. There are no good parallel routes. The road is constantly under construction, and it's choked by a relentless series of badly timed traffic lights.
So in July, during the peak dinner rush, say 5 to 7 p.m., if you decide to drive the 6 miles east toward Destin, that trip can easily take 45 minutes, maybe an hour.
And that's just one way. And if the Brooks Bridge has a lane closed for maintenance, which happens, the entire system just halts. It feels like a parking lot.
So the fix is to be strict with our traffic rules. 1. Plan your Destin trips early. Hit the road by 9:30 a.m. and be heading back before noon. Or go after 8 p.m. And 2, more importantly, just embrace the local FWB scene for dinner. Do not attempt to cross that bridge during dinner rush unless you enjoy staring at the back of a rental SUV.
Trap number 3. Public access confusion. People assume, the beach is public so they can just cut through any condo complex to get to the sand.
You cannot do that.
No. Okaloosa Island properties are extremely vigilant. They will tow unauthorized cars instantly, and they take trespassing very seriously. You don't want to risk a $300 tow fee.
So the fix is you have to use the 7 designated public beach access points on Okaloosa Island. They're clearly marked, they offer limited parking, and if you want a guaranteed parking spot, you need to get there before 10 a.m., especially on a weekend. After that, you're just gambling.
Let's talk essential gear and timing for a second.
Yeah.
We mentioned the savings on the umbrella, but we also need to emphasize the physical demands of this particular beach.
If you are driving, you must bring a beach wagon. Seriously. I saw a family last summer trying to haul a cooler, a tent, 5 towels, and 2 buckets without a wagon.
Oh, no.
By the time they reached the water, their youngest was crying, the dad was already bright red from heat stroke, and they hadn't even unpacked yet. Just get the wagon. The distance from the condo elevator across the walkway and over that wide, hot sand can be hundreds of yards. It's an absolute necessity.
And for timing, if you're really chasing that value, avoid the chaos of spring break entirely. Those 2 weeks in March and April are overpriced and overcrowded.
Instead, aim for October. It really is the golden month. The Gulf water is still incredibly warm, often warmer than the air temperature in the evening. The humidity has broken, the daily summer thunderstorms are gone, and critically, most of the tourists have left, which means the lodging rates have dropped by 30 to 40%.
Right.
All right, now we have to address the serious side of this segment, the safety check. We called FWB gritty. We need to be really clear about the difference between grittiness and actual danger.
Right. FWB mainland is a city, and like a lot of working cities, it has areas that struggle. Statistically, the mainland does have higher rates of property crime and theft compared to the national average. It's not a manicured, gated community.
So this just means using common sense. Don't leave valuables visible in your car, especially along that Highway 98 corridor where there are more transient populations. Violent crime isn't the typical concern for a tourist, but you just need to have situational awareness. This isn't a place where you can leave your wallet on a park bench and expect it to be there 3 hours later.
However, if you follow our advice and spend 90% of your time on Okaloosa Island, you will feel very, very safe. That is the tourist bubble. It's densely packed with families, there's high visibility, and a constant police presence focused on beach safety and traffic.
But the number one, most serious and statistically most likely hazard you will face is the Gulf itself. We're talking about rip currents.
And this is a life or death issue that needs detail. The Gulf is relatively shallow near the shore, so when strong winds push huge amounts of water towards the beach, that water has to go back out to sea.
It finds the path of least resistance, usually a break in a sandbar, and it rushes back out in this powerful, narrow channel. That's the rip current, and it looks like a calm stretch of water between the waves, which makes it incredibly deceptive.
It will pull you out faster than you can swim back in, even if you're a great swimmer. So you must respect the beach flags. A red flag means high hazard, stay out of the water, or at least only go up to your knees.
A double red flag means the water is closed. Do not touch the water. Local law enforcement enforces this aggressively, and the fines start at $500, and they should be strict. It saves lives. Never, ever ignore those flags.
And a final comfort issue for people who are sensitive: sea lice and jellyfish. These can pop up in the warmer months, especially June and August.
Sea lice aren't actually lice. They're jellyfish larvae that get trapped in your swimsuit and cause a stinging rash. It's uncomfortable but harmless. And June grass is an algae bloom that can also cause some skin irritation. So if you're extremely squeamish about marine life, just check the local beach reports before you book in the dead of summer.
And finally, let's revisit that sound of freedom, the jet noise from Eklund. We cannot overstate this. It is loud. You will feel the windows rattle in your condo.
The benefit is you get a free, daily, spectacular air show, watching F-35s fly maneuvers right over the Gulf. The cost is, if you're trying to relax on your balcony at 2 p.m., or if you have a light sleeping kid, the noise will just shatter the tranquility. You just have to accept it as part of the FWB deal. Let's move to segment 5, the best and worst of the FWB experience. If we had one day to show a first-timer the area, where would we take them and what would we tell them to avoid?
I'll start with the biggest thing to avoid, the biggest letdown for me. The boardwalk on Okaloosa Island.
Yeah, this area, it's near the fishing pier, and it's basically the high-density tourist zone. It's supposed to be the central hub, but it often falls flat.
It's a tourist trap factory. The service is rushed. The food is universally overpriced for what it is, and the whole area just feels loud, hot, chaotic, and kind of sticky. They're just moving hundreds of people through mediocre shops selling the exact same T-shirts.
So our firm recommendation is to skip the restaurants at the boardwalk entirely. Save your money, save your time. However, you should absolutely walk the pier itself. It's a great way to see the sheer clarity of the water and watch the fishing boats.
My other big disappointment is just the lack of alternative roads. We already hit the Highway 98 chokehold, but the feeling of hitting every single red light on a 3-mile run to the grocery store is just, it's soul-crushing. I'm convinced there's an algorithm designed specifically for maximum driver frustration.
All right, let's pivot to the high points, the things that really validate the savings. My best moment, the purest FWB experience, has to be the authentic food. It has to be Stubby's Seafood Shanty.
Describe the physical experience, because this requires the listener to, suspend their preconceived notions of what dining is.
It's not a restaurant. It's a literal shack with a drive-through window and a walk-up counter. You order your food. It's often prepared by someone who might have caught it that morning, and it comes out in a styrofoam box. You eat outside at a picnic table, maybe sharing it with a local who just got off a shift.
But the value and the quality are just unbeatable. You can get fresh-caught items like amberjack or grouper or perfectly seasoned fried shrimp for $14 to $18. It's the authentic Florida experience. No pretense, no crazy markup, just excellent fresh food served fast. That's the kind of spot you're looking for.
My favorite place to unwind, which actually offers a little slice of that upscale aesthetic FWB usually lacks, is the Gulf. This spot sits right at the entrance to Okaloosa Island.
The Gulf is so unique. It feels like a genuine discovery. It's entirely outdoors, and it's designed using these repurposed shipping containers for the kitchen and the bar. And they have these cozy, comfortable couches and lounge chairs scattered right on the sand near the water.
The vibe is just incredible. It feels relaxed, but also sophisticated and kind of urban all at once. You get a drink, you watch the boats come in from the Intracoastal Waterway at sunset, and you realize this spot wouldn't feel out of place in Miami or Charleston. It's a rare moment of intentional, stylish design in FWB.
And finally, for the true beach purists, we have to share the secret gem, Princess Beach.
This is your reward for sticking with the deep dive. It's an undeveloped stretch of beach on Okaloosa Island. It's technically managed by the Air Force, part of the baselands, but it is open to the public.
And its appeal is that it is pristine. There are no condos, no hotels, just dunes, sea oats, and untouched sand. It requires a little bit of a logistical commitment. You have to park across the street in a dirt lot and walk. But if you crave that feeling of pure, raw Gulf Coast nature, away from the crowds and the buildings, Princess Beach is where you go.
Okay, segment 6, alternatives and the final matrix. We've been brutally honest about the strip mall blues, the 1980s stucco, the jet noise. So if those trade-offs are absolute deal breakers for you, where should you go instead?
We've got 3 really good alternatives, all within a short drive, depending on what specific pain point you're trying to escape.
Option 1, Navarre Beach. This is about 20 minutes west of Fort Walton Beach.
Navarre has this moniker, Florida's most relaxing place, and it absolutely lives up to it. It is sleepy. It's almost entirely residential, quiet, well-spaced condos. There is basically zero commercial development along the beachfront.
So if your highest priority is absolute tranquility, zero party scene, and maximum solitude, you go to Navarre. The water and sand quality are identical to FWB. The big caveat, though, you must bring groceries and plan to cook. They have only 3 or 4 restaurants in the whole area.
Option 2, Pensacola Beach. This is further west, maybe 45 minutes from FWB.
Pensacola Beach offers a slightly more cosmopolitan vibe. You have a historic, vibrant downtown nearby that has culture, museums, and really diverse dining options that FWB just lacks. It feels a lot more established and mature.
Right. Pensacola Beach has a more developed commercial center on its main strip, so you get amenities and activities, but you can still find quiet, secluded areas really easily. It feels more polished than Fort Walton, but it still avoids the hyper-premium pricing of Destin.
And option 3, Destin, the ultimate comparison point.
You choose Destin if the aesthetic and the polished experience are paramount. If you absolutely must have new, clean architecture, perfectly manicured landscaping, upscale shopping, and you're willing to pay a 40% premium for lodging and a 25% premium for food.
But, and this is a major warning, the traffic in Destin is worse. The traffic congestion there is legendary, especially near the big shopping centers and the Harbor Walk. If the Highway 98 chokehold bothers you in FWB, Destin will absolutely break your spirit.
The smartest approach for the value-conscious traveler, though, is what we call the combo itinerary. This is the real high-value strategy for the whole region.
You use Fort Walton Beach as your affordable base camp. You secure that $300 a night condo on Okaloosa Island, saving $1,000 right there. Then you take one quiet day trip west to Navarre Beach for max relaxation.
And then you drive into Destin once, maybe on a Tuesday evening after 8 p.m. to avoid that traffic for a nice dinner and a walk on the Harbor Walk. You maximize your savings while dipping into all the best parts the Emerald Coast has to offer.
All right, final segment, the verdict matrix. We've laid out all the trade-offs, the logistics, the pricing. Is Fort Walton Beach truly worth it? We're going to break down the final recommendation by traveler type.
And this is where the nuance is so important. FWB is not a one-size-fits-all destination at all.
Starting with the backpacker solo traveler.
Verdict and no.
And why? It's just too expensive for a single person. You can't split that condo cost. And FWB has zero hostel culture, no cheap communal lodging. And critically, it is completely car dependent. Without a car, you're just spending all your savings on Ubers. You'll be broke and isolated.
Next up, the mid-range couple.
Verdict, maybe to yes.
Right. If you're an unpretentious couple, if you genuinely value a retro no-frills vibe and your focus is entirely on the quality of the water and saving money, then yes, this is a great practical choice. But if you're seeking a luxury, spa-like, perfectly romantic honeymoon or fine dining is a daily thing for you, you will be highly disappointed. FWB is practical, it's reliable, it's not sexy.
Now for the family trip.
Verdict, absolute yes. This is the target demographic for FWB. 100%.
The condos are literally built for families. Kitchens, laundry, bunk beds, the activities, the Golfarium, Wild Willies are all squarely kid-focused and affordable. And the huge savings on lodging and food mean you can stretch your vacation to a full week without breaking the bank.
Finally, the luxury traveler.
Verdict, hard no.
You will be annoyed by the strip mall blues. You will be irritated by the 1980s stucco and the lack of polish. You will hate the traffic. This destination is just going to cause you stress, not relaxation. Save yourself the headache and go straight to the guaranteed luxury of watercolor or Alice Beach.
So the overall verdict summary. We promised a car analogy, and I think it still holds up perfectly.
Fort Walton Beach is the reliable Honda Accord of beach destinations. It's practical, it's not flashy, and yeah, it has some dents and faded paint from years of hard work, but it is safe, it's reliable, and it gets you to that world-class beach affordably and functionally.
It has heart, the sugar sand is real, and that $18 basket of fresh fried shrimp is waiting for you. If you can look past the concrete reality of the mainland, you have found the best value on the entire Emerald Coast.
So let's give the final best advice recap. Best time to go, late September or early October.
Best base. Book on Okaloosa Island, check that Santa Rosa Boulevard address, and aim for a condo with a pool.
Key logistics. Rent a car, buy your big groceries at the Publix on the mainland, invest in a beach wagon, and remember to never, under any circumstances, drive east toward Destin between 4 p.m. and 7 p.m.
Okay, we've broken it all down. The value, the trade-offs,
Yeah.
everything you face when you choose FWB. But before we sign off, here's a provocative closing thought for you. Something that ties the entire identity of this place to its cost savings.
The affordability and the blue-collar identity of Fort Walton Beach are completely and intrinsically linked to its primary economic engine, Eglin Air Force Base.
So if Eglin Air Force Base were to ever relocate, how quickly would that entire economic structure shift? How fast would Fort Walton Beach lose its blue-collar identity and convert entirely into another hyper-premium tourist market just like Destin, instantly erasing the amazing value and the accessibility we found here today? Something to think about.
Watch your wallet. Safe travels.
See you out there.